as he probes deep in search of solutions. Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Thanks for joining us on News Now. I am Maureen Menno Mwezigwe. Following threats by its workers to embark on a 3-day warning strike this week, the Police Service Commission has summoned the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, to a meeting on the ongoing recruitment of 10,000 constables. It was learned that the PSC management agreed during their meeting to meet with the IGP to seek the way forward on the workers' demand. Meanwhile, the workers have finalized plans to embark on strike in protest against the Commission's alleged abdication of its responsibility to the police. The workers are accusing the Commission led by Alhaji Musiliu Smith, a retired Inspector General of Police, of surrendering the recruitment of constables to the police in violation of the order of the Court of Appeal which upheld the mandate. The 2020 recruitment of constables had run into troubled waters when the police took over the exercise, but the controversy was laid to rest when the Court of Appeal ruled that the Commission had the constitutional mandate to carry out the recruitment process. Despite the court order, the police carried out the recruitment of the 2021 batch of 10,000 constables and had also commenced the 2022 batch, a development that the workers have vowed to resist. School principals in Kwara State have been warned to desist from imposing the wearing of hijab, that's female Muslim headscarf or barrette, on any student. Chairman of the Commission, Malam Bello Abubakar, had during a meeting on Friday reaffirmed the determination of the state government to promote religious tolerance among teachers and students and enhance peaceful coexistence. The warning came on the heels of fresh controversy of the wearing of hijab in some Christian schools, Oyun Baptist High School, Ijagbo, and St. Clair's Girls Secondary School, Offa, in Oyo and Offa local government area, respectively. The Federal High Court sitting in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, has struck out the suit challenging the competence of the Governor Maimala Buni-led Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee of the All Progressive Congress, the APC. Delivering judgment, the presiding judge, Justice Phoebe Musung Ayua, struck out the name of National Chairman of the All Progressive Congress, the National Working Committee of the APC, as well as the National Secretary, Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, sued as second, third, and fourth defendants for being non-juristic persons. The court held that the action is non-justiciable and incurably incompetent on the ground that the substratum of the matter borders on the internal affairs of the All Progressive Congress. Recall that on the 15th day of October 2021, Delta State High Court of Justice struck out an action filed by Elvis Ayamano and others challenging the APC ward, LGA, and state congresses. The Federal High Court ruling has put to rest issues surrounding the legality of the Maimala Buni-led Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. Tragedy struck in Kano Metropolis when a train crushed a truck and a commercial tricycle in the northwestern state. The accident, which occurred on Sunday afternoon, left an unspecified number of passengers feared dead. The truck was loaded with about 300 bags of cement, and the tricycle conveyed 4 passengers. At the incident, the scene, the truck belonging to a cement company was seen upside down with cement littered all over the tracks, while the tricycle was also seen crushed with broken glasses and tricycle parts on the rail tracks. Residents of the area who witnessed the accident scene said efforts were made to flag down the trailer, but it was not fruitful. The train hit the vehicle and the tricycle simultaneously when the driver of the trailer attempted to cross the rail line. As part of efforts to tackle illegal oil bunkering and soot emission in Rivers State, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has nabbed and paraded 15 suspected oil thieves. The suspects were arrested by the Commandant General Special Intelligence Squad in collaboration with the NSCDC personnel in the command. Details in this report. Oh, sorry, that report is not ready at the moment. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has paraded 9 suspects for different crimes, including a 30-year-old woman who poured hot water on her 11-year-old child. This is just as the command says investigation is on the allegation of kidnapping leveled against some of its officers in Osun State. Emmanuel Ocheja, Commandant Osun State NSCDC, disclosed this while parading the suspect at the command in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. Benue State government has commenced the demolition of illegal residential buildings located at Veterinary. In this next report filed in by a correspondent in Makurdi, Francis Dare.
Over 1,000 structures are marked. They will go down as the government says the structures encroach on government land without certificate of occupancy and building approval from the State Urban Development Authority.
I gave them demolition notice about 6 months ago. They took government to court. Government defeated them. As a community, they went for appeal, and they were also defeated. So now we are here to do proper enforcement, and then to also send signals that government is not on vacation. There is somebody on that seat, and there is a constitutional authority that is presiding over the activities of governance in Benue.
It is a painful sight.
Now, this community, no board come out. As nobody come out, how manage you, even the time where we can build house, they go come collect Machi Grant and other thing. Now, where then they?
Now, who said the land for now?
The community.
Who among the community? Who say community? Who the community?
Community, they're not there here, no. That the way they come pieces the house, nobody there here.
They are domain, this is our house. We don't know how to go with the children. We make it have mercy on us. Have mercy on us. Have mercy on us so that you will give us time. Anything that you want us to do so that we go do. And I don't get anybody to anywhere to carry my children go. I don't know anywhere to carry my children go because I don't know anybody to help me.
Their fortune may not be totally lost as Bileka offers a bit of reprieve.
This is a government land. It is under the control of the head of service. Those willing to acquire land here should go to the head of service, obtain approvals, and then come to Urban Development Board and also bring with their building plans, and then do the needful. When they have when they have COOs, they can be granted approvals from the board. And you're also aware that even though, if for instance the head of service has given them legitimate approvals, and yet they have not gotten approvals from the board, it is our right, it is our legal right as a board to do these things we are doing. The law says clearly that once a structure is built without the knowledge of urban development, it means that structure is illegal.
At the time of filing the report, over 50 illegal structures had been pulled down with more than 50 police operatives cordoning off the area.
After the cessation of a woman's menstrual flow, which is referred to as menopause, different women across the world go through this phase of life in different ways. In this special report, our health correspondent Ngozika Ohechisi takes a look at some of the symptoms experienced during this period and how some women are coping with menopause.
Menopause is a natural biological process that ends a woman's menstrual cycle. It is diagnosed after a woman has gone 12 months without her menstrual period. The average age a woman gets into menopause is from 51 and above worldwide. However, about 1% of women go into premature menopause before age 40. And in some rare cases, some women go into that stage at 30. Medical experts usually advise that such a woman should seek medical care immediately. There are physical symptoms menopausal women experience, such as hot flashes, reduced libido, vaginal dryness, hair dryness, anxiety, depression, and sometimes the disruption of sleep. Just as different women experience menopause and its symptoms in different ways, Lilian Odumusu tells us she got into menopause stage at 47. This got her worried.
Menopause is something women look up to at a certain age, like you rightly said. I think in my own case, I entered my menopause at the age of 47. 47, yeah. I entered menopause at the age of 47. And somehow I didn't know it was the menopause of a teen. I just saw that certain changes just came into my lifestyle. I started sweating. I started feeling some kind of pains. And I keep on wondering what was happening, though I have BP. I'm a BP patient then, and I thought maybe it was because of the BP of it, and that's the high blood pressure, HBP. I went to my doctor and I said, this is what I'm noticing. I started having this hot flash, and he said, well, it might be menopause. I said, menopause? But I still look at having kids. He laughed. I said, you want to have kids with your condition, you have BP? And he said, it's not advisable. Well, you just take it. It has come, it has come. But before then, I could remember that at a point in time, I think my period ceased for like 3 months. Then it appeared again. So the thing now got me scared. Like, what is really happening to me? I don't understand. I saw it. I started menstruating again. And after like 3-4 months again, or 6 months thereabouts, it stopped. I was worried about the whole thing. But at the time, I told myself, why would I be giving myself stress if God has written it this way? Because I believe in God so much. Whatever God has written, I believe is its handwriting, and it has come to stay. So you don't force yourself into things that are not, you cannot change, rather. You don't force yourself into things you cannot change. So at that point in time, I went to my doctor. He asked me to do some tests, and I did some tests. That was just it. I just noticed my period was off and on like that, and there was nothing I could do to it. Though he gave me some drugs. Yes, I was given some drugs. And at the end, I just told myself, I don't need to force myself in any situation. I'm meeting myself. So at that point in time, I just took to faith.
Oluchi Peace has a different experience. She discovered her menstrual cessation at age 58. She said she wasn't worried as she was aware she was due for menopause.
About 6 years ago, I was 58 then. And I do not have any problem or issue concerning it. My life was just normal. I did not notice anything except that the flow stopped. And I did not go to any hospital to check because I know that, I mean, I know that, 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 I I was due for it. So when it stopped, I was not worried in order to start to go to see a doctor for anything. I did not.
Perception of menopause in Africa varies by culture. For women with multiple births, menopause is likely to be welcomed as an end to childbearing. Lilian Odumosuo had postmenopausal bleeding. She says ignorance is a major factor in Africa.
The way our generation reason now, a lot of things have changed. Just like I told you the other time, that I had to take to my faith when I saw things were not, but thank God my doctor was able to tell me then what was happening with me. And when I saw I couldn't do anything to it, there's nothing I could do to it. So I don't need to kill myself. So whether they call it witchcraft or whatsoever, it is not it. It is not it. It comes at a particular age. Some might be lucky they'll see their menopause at the age of 50-something. Some might be lucky even 60. By 60, some are still menstruating. So it depends on individual. It depends on how your circle runs.
Dr. Joy Agbara is a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist with the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Lasut. She explains the reason some women experience early menopause.
You have some women that start the perimenopause earlier, from 40. If we begin to see that before 40 years, we say that is premature ovarian insufficiency or failure. You understand? But after the age of 40 years, can happen. Of course, you may have people going into menopause earlier, not because it was time, maybe because they had surgery. So we say iatrogenic. A woman who for any reason, maybe she had complex ovarian cyst, she had an endometrioma, for which you have to move her, and goes into menopause earlier than it should be. A woman who is undergoing cancer therapy, maybe radiation for any of the cancers, that you expose the ovaries, may go into iatrogenic ovarian failure. You understand? So those ones, you see them earlier.
Medically, menopause has no cure, but it can be managed.
First, education. The woman needs to be aware that it's not an abnormality, it's just a continuum of, she has moved from one phase of her life into another phase of her life. So if she's psychologically prepared, it's one of the ways that you can manage. And so we encourage them, to join groups of women that are within that age where they can share experiences and all that. And then non-pharmacologic management, because of the heat, you want to encourage the woman, to wear more lighter clothes. Some of them get fans, encourage them not to live sedentary life. The lifestyle, they should move around, exercises at that age. Those are non-pharmacologic ways of dealing with it.
Experts say that menopause is not an abnormality, but a natural phase every woman will go through. Therefore, it's not something to be ashamed or depressed about. They urge menopausal women to always open up and share their experiences or symptoms with their doctors to get help when needed. Ngozika, OHSC.
We are now joined by Dr. Adeola Folashade Afolabi, consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, Federal Medical Center, Kefi, Nasarawa State. Good evening. That was a beautiful report by our reporter, Ngozika HSC. Very detailed, right?
You can say that again.
All right, so maybe we should. Yes, let's start with something that I think probably wasn't covered, and that is different stages of menopause. Let's start with that.
All right. So talking about menopause, simply put, it's cessation of menstruation for a period of 12 months. Now, it occurs in stages. We have the perimenopausal stage, we have the menopause itself, and we have the postmenopausal stage. Okay, the perimenopausal stage covers the first 12 months when there is cessation of menses, and the menopause starts at that 12 months, and then postmenopause is after the cessation. though it's difficult to differentiate between when exactly it is menopause and after menopause. Now, the symptoms that you are supposed to experience after menopause, you start to experience some of them before menopause, before the cessation. Now, this cessation is a way of the ovary saying, bye-bye, I've stopped working. And this ovary, they are glands located in the female pelvis. And what they do, they are the major source of the female hormones. So when they stop working, that is when we make diagnosis of menopause. But before they stop working, they give you some symptoms to say, I'm stopping, I'm getting old, I don't want to work again. This is what happens. Unlike what obtains in men, in females, all the eggs in our body, unlike men that secrete semen all the time, all the eggs in our body, they are what we have gotten from our mother's womb. And then we start to use them up. By the time they are reduced, maybe like less than 1,000, that is when the ovary will say, no, bye-bye, I'm old, I don't want to work again. And then when they are saying bye-bye, the way they start to say it, these are the symptoms you begin to see. The menses becomes irregular. Remember, when menses wants to start, that is at puberty, it starts irregularly. So likewise, when it's about to leave, it becomes irregular. In some people, it will be more frequent. In some people, it will be lower. In some people, the flow will reduce, while in some, it might become more. That is menorrhagia. Apart from that, the woman might begin to experience some form of vaginal dryness and discomfort. And this one can affect their sexual performances because the desire is lower, the drive is lower. But these are symptoms of, this thing can be managed, because I need to stress it, that is not a disease. It's a normal phenomenon. It's a physiological change. It's a transition from one form of life to another form of life. And another thing that such a person can begin to experience is wrinkled skin. And then there's something we call hot flushes. That is sudden experience of heat in the upper part of the body, the trunk, the neck, and the face. And then it disappears. So when you start to have these symptoms, but you are still menstruating, that's perimenopausal. But after 12 months of no menses, you make diagnosis of menopause. And then afterwards, when the menses are stopped, these symptoms persist for a while. It's also encompass sleep deprivation for some people. And then some people will start to urinate more frequently. This is because the hormone called estrogen is now reduced in the body. The body is no longer secreting it as it was before. That is what is causing all these changes. And I must also add that there are mental affectation of these changes, of this period of life too, in which the woman will have mood swing. Some will become depressed, some will become anxious. So you need to really be conscious of what's happening to you. You need to know that it's a physiological change, and the way you approach it will affect the quality of life. That is talking about the stages. Those are the 3 stages.
All right. Like you said, it's not a disease. It's a change in the phase of a woman's life. But how best can it be managed? Are there medical treatments? Are they, even though it's not a disease, is there a medical way of enhancing some sort of supplement?
Yes, we have the ways of managing it. But the first and foremost thing to do is just education first. Once you know what you're expecting and you know what is happening to you, it's not a disease, you know, it's something that you are expecting. Just like when menses comes, some people are knowledgeable about it, they've been trained by their parents, and they are expecting it. The way they receive it is different from somebody that just saw blood all of a sudden. So likewise, if we are well educated about it, I like what PlusTvAfrica is doing now. That's the public enlightenment. It's going to help a lot of people. So kudos to this channel. Now, when we are aware, it helps a lot, because when they still come to the hospital, before we go to medical aspect, we need to first talk about education. All we do is still to educate them very well. And apart from that, we have other things that should be done. That is non-pharmacological, without using drugs now. We need to train them on certain things like clothing, light clothing, somebody has mentioned it, and then the practice of deep relaxation, deep breathing and relaxation exercise. Then we need to talk to them about their health, their diet rather. Their diet, especially having a lot of fruits, vegetable and whole grains. Then they need to limit alcohol. They need to seek counseling for mood changes. If you think you're having mood changes, we have behavioral scientists that you can go and see. Then they need to do what we call Kegel muscle exercise. I told you some people will start to urinate frequently because with the lack of this hormone, the muscles controlling urination, some of them becomes weak. So there's this Kegel muscle exercise. We'll teach them what to do. Before we go to talking about medication, what we do in the medication is the hormones that has gone down. We try to hard back the hormone. There are certain things, and also because there's loss of bone density, we try to give them a hard back hormone. The hormone that has gone down, we try to replace it. There are various ways of replacing it, which is not what I will say online now until when they come to us. So we try to replace back the hormone, but as we are replacing back the hormone, there are other things that we need to do, because as we are using the hormone, there are some other side effects of the hormone. So they should be well aware that there are things that can be given. We have medications that can be given to relieve some of these symptoms that I've earlier highlighted.
Well, work life, that's a woman's career could possibly be affected somehow with all the changes she's experiencing, sudden changes and all of that. Is there any kind of policy that you think should be put in place, you know, bearing in mind that the women need to work and then they're going through all of this?
Thank you for that question. Now, let me just say that there are policies that should be in place, but it's not limited to females alone. Let me just quickly talk. Let us know that there's what we call andropause too.
That is men. Okay, we'll chip that in, but let's answer this. Yes.
There's andropause, there's menopause. So as we are educating, first and foremost, as we are educating our women, we need to educate our men too, so that they will be aware that their women will go through this. Maybe their mother, their sisters, and all the like will go through this. So all policy makers too, they need to be aware of this, and because the age of retirement is 60, but this happens around 51 years old. So we need to bear this in mind and put it into our policies. Perhaps some people might need to excuse themselves when they feel they are not coping well, or the initial phase. So they need to put all this into cognizance when they are making the policy. I quite agree that a policy should be in place to help our women, you understand? But by doing this, as we are educating people, educating both men and women, then they will need to know that this thing, but it's not as if, it's just the first few years that really affect people. By the time we adjust, the symptoms will not be as much as they were when it first happened. So the first few years, some women might not be so regular at work, and so we need to factor this into it and give them excusability when necessary.
So you need to take that up, I think, with, yes, so that, because the men may not know, the policy makers may not know, and so people like you who know should probably push this forward. Well, because of time, we won't be able to talk about that of the men, which you talked about. But I'm sure that with what you've said, a lot of women listening right now, because before now, just like you rightly noted, before Plus TV, we really don't hear much about menopause anywhere. It's like some silent thing that women just run into in the course of their lives. So many women don't seem to know, or they just don't give it much thought, but then it just creeps up on them, and then they realize, I'm changing. And they're sometimes lost. How do you respond to that? A lot of women are not aware. They're not prepared for it.
Okay. That is why I gave kudos to PlusTvAfrica. We really need to heighten the public enlightenment in this regard. Both women, not just women alone, both women and men. we need to make everybody become aware of these changes that must come to be. It's a normal thing. Just the way we started menses, it will definitely end one day. So we need to let our men and our women become aware of it. I think so gone to period, especially perimenopausally, the menstruation is irregular, but our women need to be aware that they can still get pregnant during this period. So as we are enlightening our women about this, we need to enlighten our men too and let them know. And then I also want to, before I leave the stage, I also want to mention the fact that after menopause, nothing stops our women from having sex. Rather, it's even a form of treatment, because it's been found out that when they have sex regularly, it's going to increase blood flow to the vagina. So all this vaginal dryness, thinning of the vaginal wall and all the like that we are expecting can get treated by this one. And there are ways that we can manage the reduced libido, the thinning and all the pain and all the other things that they are having. There are ways that it can be managed. Just that when they are going through this, they should not go through it alone. They should make noise about it. Like I appreciate Madam Lillian and Madam Oluchi for coming out publicly to talk about themselves. So if our women will relate with each other in this kind of way, it will help other people come in, so that when they get to this stage, they will know that they are not alone and they will be able to cope better. These are the way it is done in Western worlds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adiola Folashade Afolabi, consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, Federal Medical Center, Kefi, Nasarawa State. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yola Electricity Distribution Company has raised an alarm over energy theft. It says over 5,000 consumers of electricity in the state are engaged in the theft, responding to widespread complaints of 150 to 200% increment in estimated bills posted to customers for power consumption for December last year. The Chief Commercial Officer, YEDC, Mr. Abubakar Sadiq, said that the action was not deliberate. He explained that the new management, which recently took over the company, was faced with major issues of gross underbilling and mismatch between energy that flowed into its grid and the collection rate for energy going into the homes of residents.
There was an increment in electricity tariff. This is a fact. But what has happened, this is our first month of coming in. We know there's a major issue which has to be resolved. We immediately realized that there was a mismatch between the energy that actually flows through to Yola Electricity Distribution, right down to the customers, and actually some of the bills that are actually going out to the customer. And consumers, there are people on the grid who are taking power, who are connected to the grid, who are not recognized as customers. Yes, these issues are for the distribution company, which we have immediately commenced addressing.
Some residents had resorted to a protest against the arbitrary increment in their electricity bills. They appealed to the management of the YEDC to review the hike in the bills.
330 naira. But remain 20 naira to balance me. Surprisingly, this month, when they brought this month's bill, in fact, I was shocked to see 25,000. I was shocked to see 25,000 written without even the arrears, because I did not owe them, to talk of having arrears. So 25,000. How did you expect a pensioner to pay this month 25,000 every month?
The issue of the exorbitant bill being shared this month, I really discourage that. I highly discourage that, because a lot of people have been complaining, especially those that don't have meters in their houses. I urge NEPA to consider this a lot, because There is already cries and all that in the state currently. We have issues of insurgency and all that. So adding those kind of hardship on people will really cause people to lure them into things that are not supposed to be. So I urge NEPA to look into this and please be considerate.
Still ahead, 16 killed, 8 injured at nightclub fire in Cameroon's capital. Details when we return.
Honeysuckle Cakes invites you to its 10th anniversary celebration, happening live on the 26th to 27th of January 2022 in Daytutu Event Center Association Extension beside Fish Farm Ogudu, Lagos, Nigeria. Time is 8 a.m. prompt. Activities include fantastic classes from season cake artists, 10th anniversary opening show, 10th anniversary magazine launch, baking competition, networking, among many others. For reservations and inquiries, call 080-811-80282 or 090-924-52229 or 080-33-302-624 or visit Honeysuckle Cakes on Instagram and Facebook.
I used to care for the world's opinion. I used to beg for validation. But the fire that burned in me was hotter, and the passion that lived in me had a voice of its own. So I stopped waiting and started to act. I stopped fearing and started to live. And when they thought I would fail, I stepped into my power.
Because my time is now.
Amstel Malta, be your best.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Whether you like it or not, the dryness and dust is coming. And this time, it might not give up that easily. But do the people have the power to shake it off?
Well, of course they do, and you do too. Kick dry skin to the curb and get smooth, intensely nourished skin with Nivea's deep moisture lotions and lip balms. Follow the story online, #DoneWithDryness.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
Welcome back. You're still watching News Now on Plus TV Africa. Moving to other parts of Africa, Burkina Faso has denied that the army had seized control of the country after exchanges of gunfire took place at multiple army barracks, including the capital. The gunfire came a day after clashes between police and demonstrators. Authorities had banned protests, but demonstrators took to the streets against the authorities' failure to stem the jihadist violence ravaging the West African country. Details in this report.
Gunfire sounded from several military camps in Burkina Faso on Sunday, as mutinying soldiers demanded more support from the government in their fight against Al-Qaeda and Islamic State-linked militants. The government has called for calm and denies that the army has seized power or detained President Roch Kabore. Heavy gunfire was first heard in the early hours at a camp in the capital Ouagadougou, which houses a prison whose inmates include soldiers involved in a failed 2015 coup attempt. That's according to a Reuters reporter who saw soldiers firing into the air inside the camp and at the Ouagadougou International Airport. A witness also reported gunfire at a military camp in Kaya, around 62 miles north of the capital. One of the mutineers, speaking to reporters, issued a series of demands. They include appropriate resources and training for the army. The government confirmed gunfire at some military camps, but the West African country's defense minister said the reasons were still unclear. Countries in the region are on high alert for coups after successful takeovers in Guinea and Mali over the past 18 months. Earlier this month, Burkinabe authorities arrested a dozen officers on suspicion of conspiring against the government.
At least 16 people were killed and 8 others were seriously injured when a fire broke out early Sunday morning at a nightclub in Yaoundé, Cameroon's capital, authorities said. Government officials, including Minister of State Ferdinand Ngo, visited the site of the deadly nightclub fire. The incident was caused by the explosion fireworks usually used in the nightclub, it said in a statement, adding that these had sparked a fire on the ceiling, which caused further explosions and panic in the nightclub. A French military base in Goa, Mali, was targeted by a rocket attack early Sunday, according to media reports. The Italian Ministry of Defense said that none of the 20 Italian soldiers on duty at the base were injured. Italian Defense Minister Lorenzo Guerini is said to be closely following the situation. Goa, where France's main military base is located in Mali, is also known as the center of Operation Barkhane, which the country has been carrying out in the region since 2013. The head of Guinea's military junta, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, named on Saturday the members of the National Transitional Council, the NTC. The 81-member legislative body will decide when civilians will return to power. Civil society activist Dr. Kanso Karuma was appointed president of the NTC. The members of the NTC represent all the country's socio-professional organizations as well as political parties. Colonel Doumbouya, who became transitional president on the 1st of October 2021 after overthrowing President Alpha Conde, has pledged to hand over power to civilians after elections, but has not yet mentioned a deadline for this transition. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, insists on the need to respect the 6-month deadline for holding elections and urges the Guinean authorities to quickly submit a timetable for this. And going outside of Africa, Russia will face severe economic sanctions if it installs a puppet regime in Ukraine, a senior UK minister said on Sunday after Britain accused the Kremlin of seeking to install a pro-Russian leader there. Britain made the accusation late on Saturday, also saying Russian intelligence officers had been in contact with a number of former Ukrainian politicians as part of plans for an invasion. More in this report.
Britain has accused the Kremlin of seeking to install a pro-Russian leader in Ukraine. The UK's foreign ministry declined to provide evidence to back up its claims, which come at a time of heightened tensions between Russia and the West. Russia has massed troops at its border with Ukraine, but insists it has no plans to invade. In a statement, Britain's Foreign Office said it had information that the Russian government was eyeing former Ukrainian lawmaker Yevhen Muriev to potentially head a pro-Russian leadership. Muriev, who opposes Ukraine's integration with the West, described the British Foreign Office as seeming confused. He told the Observer newspaper that the statement isn't very logical, adding that he is banned from Russia. The Russian Foreign Ministry dismissed the comments as disinformation and accused Britain and NATO of escalating tensions. The UK also said it had information that Russian intelligence services were maintaining links with numerous former Ukrainian politicians, including senior figures linked to ex-President Viktor Yanukovych, who fled to Russia in 2014 after 3 months of protests. The British claims come a day after top US and Russian diplomats failed to make a breakthrough in discussions to resolve the crisis. They have agreed to keep talking. Russia has made demands on the US, including a halt to NATO's eastward expansion and a pledge that Ukraine will never be allowed to join the Western military alliance. A UK Foreign Ministry source said it was not usual practice to share intelligence matters, and that the details had only been declassified after careful consideration in order to deter Russian aggression. The office of UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson also said he was planning to ramp up pressure on Russia this week by calling for European counterparts to come together with the United States.
Armenian President Armen Sarkisyan tendered his resignation on Sunday, saying he believes the country's constitution does not give him sufficient powers to influence events. Sarkisyan, president since 2018, was in a standoff with Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan last year over a number of issues, including the dismissal of the head of the armed forces. The role of Prime Minister is seen as more powerful than that of President. At a referendum in December 2015, Armenia became a parliamentary republic, while presidential powers were significantly curtailed. Germany's leader has urged Europe and the United States to think carefully when considering sanctions against Russia for any aggression against Ukraine and a crisis pitting Berlin's main gas supplier against its biggest security allies. Among a range of possible Western sanctions against President Vladimir Putin's government, Germany could halt the Nord Stream 2 pipeline from Russia if it invades Ukraine. But that would risk exacerbating a gas supply crunch in Europe that has caused energy prices to soar. According to a pre-release of the interview, Scholz also countered any impression that the United States and Europe could not agree on a joint set of sanctions. Belgian Riot police fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse protesters demonstrating against COVID-19 restrictions in Brussels on Sunday. Thousands marched in the Belgian capital after Prime Minister Alexander De Croo announced Friday that people could need booster shots after 5 months to maintain COVID-19 passes given access to bars or cinemas. That 5-month limit is among the tightest in Europe. For neighboring France, it is 7 months, while the EU-wide guide for travel within the bloc is set at 9. COVID-19 infections in Belgium are at their peak now at 40,929 new infections reported each day. Up next, Nigeria lost 74.51 billion naira oil revenue in December. Well, that's in business news after this short break. Stay with us.
A new report by Omaplex law firm has indicated that poor mobile networks and the limited spread of internet-enabled devices, among others, were threatening the acceptance of e-Naira across the country. The Central Bank of Nigeria had in October last year introduced a digital currency called the e-Naira. The Apex Bank said it hoped to increase financial inclusion and make cross-border payment easier for enterprises, among other things. With the introduction of the central bank digital currency, the CBN had also disclosed 400,000 accounts were created and over 12,500 transactions were made within the month of launching e-Naira. The firm commended the Central Bank of Nigeria's effort to overcome some of the existing obstacles. A new monthly report of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries has shown a plunge in Nigerians' crude oil production in December 2021, triggering a loss of about 74.51 billion naira in oil earnings. According to OPEC data, Nigeria produced an average of 1.19 million barrels per day in December, down from 1.26 million barrels per day in November. This means an average daily loss of 78,000 barrels was recorded in December, translating to a total loss of 2.42 million barrels in a month. In December, the average price of Brent, the international benchmark against which Nigeria's oil is priced, was $74.17 per barrel, according to figures from countryeconomy.com. At the official exchange rate of 415.5 naira to a dollar, it implies that the loss of 2.48 million barrels of crude oil in December reduced the country's earning by about 74.51 billion naira. Further analysis of OPEC's latest report indicated that the first quarter of 2021, Nigeria's oil production stood at the average of 1.312 million barrels per day. Capital inflows from the United Kingdom, the United States, South Africa, the United Arab Emirates, Netherlands, Mauritius hint $31.82 billion in 3 years, according to data from National Bureau of Statistics. The NBS data show that the 6 countries accounted for 83.32% of the total capital of $38.18 billion imported into Nigeria from over 100 countries from January 2019 to September 2021. The United Kingdom accounted for the highest foreign inflow of $17.34 billion, followed by the United States $5.79 billion, and South Africa $3.99 billion, and the UAE $1.80 billion, Netherlands $1.68 billion, and Mauritius $1.09 billion. According to the MBS, capital importation data is obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria, and it includes imported physical capital such as equipment, financial capital importation. It added that capital importation comprises 3 main investment categories, namely foreign direct investment, foreign portfolios investment, and other investment. Capital inflow from the 6 countries declined from $20.09 billion in 2019 to $7.94 billion in 2020. It stood at $3.78 billion in the 9th month to September 2021. And that's all for the business news. I am Mercy Bokpo. Many thanks for watching.
Well, thank you, Mercy. The best in sports is up next.
Francis Ngannou says Cameroon's exploits at the African Cup of Nations inspired him to retain his world heavyweight title at the UFC 270. The Batier-born fighter recorded a unanimous decision victory over Cyril Gane in Anaheim, California on Saturday night. Meanwhile, his beloved Indomitable Lions are also flying the flag at their home AFCON and will face Comoros in the last 16 on Monday. Ngannou believes the election of Cameroon icon Samuel Eto'o Fils as Football Federation president has boosted the nation's hopes of winning. Chelsea missed the chance to close the gap on women's Super League leaders Arsenal as they were held by Brighton. Emma Hayes' side, who started the day 4 points behind the Gunners, dominated possession but could not find a breakthrough from their 25 attempts. Brighton withstood the pressure and defended resolutely, with goalkeeper Megan Welsh making a number of important saves. Erin Cuthbert also hit the crossbar to sum up Chelsea's frustration. Following a run in which they scored in 59 consecutive WSL matches, this is the first time Chelsea have failed to score in consecutive league games since October 2018. Despite making it 7 successive games without scoring themselves, the result means Brighton put an end to their run of 6 consecutive defeats in all competitions. Beijing Olympics organizers said on Sunday, January 23rd, they had confirmed 72 cases of COVID-19 among 2,586 games-related personnel entering China from January 4th to January 22nd, with no cases among 171 athletes and team officials arriving in that period. Final preparations are taking place for the Winter Games amid a global surge in cases of the highly infectious Omicron coronavirus variant. The Games are set to take place from February 4th to February 20th inside a closed-loop bubble that separates all events and personnel from the public. Of the confirmed cases, 39 were found in testing at the airport and 33 inside the loop, organizers said. Participants in the bubble are subject to daily testing, with 336,421 PCR tests administered from January 4th to January 22nd. All Games participants needed 2 negative PCR test results within 96 hours of their departure to China, and most are traveling on specially arranged charter flights. Last week, organizers said that tickets for the Olympics would not be sold to the general public due to COVID-19 and would instead be distributed to groups of people who will be required to undertake strict prevention measures before, during, and after attending events.
And the main news again. Police Service Commission summons IGP, workers issue strike notice. Burkina Faso government denies army takeover after barracks gunfire. And UK to apply sanctions if Russia tries to install puppet regime in Ukraine. And that's the news now. For more stories, please follow us at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Maureen Menopause. Thanks for watching.